the reality is that the only limiting factor of this technology is our imagination. And so you have inspired me, because what you did was you took an application that helped you manage your to-do list, and you turned it into an application that lets you manage its to-do list.
Yeah.
You're creating a to-do list for Claude, not for yourself. And that's
when you say it like that, it makes me sound much smarter. So let's go with your words. That was much better. I am Sterling Douglas, co-founder and CEO at Chally, a digital platform for everything outside the four walls of the restaurant.
And I am Aaron Newton, Chief Data Officer at Things. We build guest engagement software for restaurants that drive business outcomes.
And this is AI for Restaurants, a show where two practitioners who actually use AI and talk to restaurants every single day, discuss what's really working in restaurants, and have some fun along the way. Aaron, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. I have a question for you, Sterling.
Okay, go ahead.
Are you burning tokens right now?
Yeah, I actually am. Yeah? I have a Ralph loop literally going right now, building a new activity tracking page in my personal to-do app. No joke. It's been running for an hour. I am like majorly, like I'm up to 70% of my weekly quota. So I am.
Oh, I blew through that.
I'm pushing it.
I've gone into the unlimited mode. You know what's amazing is I burn through somewhere close to 1 billion tokens a week.
Dude, that's crazy. You told me that the other day, and I had to look mine up, and I was like, man, I would think 200 to 300 million tokens a week was a lot. And then next year, I'm like, dang, these are rookie numbers. I got to pump these numbers up.
I feel that way too.
I got to pump this up.
Our CTO burns through something like 4 billion tokens a week, and like on the one hand, it's like, is this a competition to burn down a forest or what? But but I think it kind of speaks to the leverage one can get when you switch from I talk to my AI and get answers into I'm going to let my AI solve problems for me. Yeah. And the total cost of burning that many tokens for someone who has a specific goal in mind to create value for themselves or others is really quite low. It's like I have a software development team that I pay something like $70 a week or something like that.
When I look at my token usage, like on a weekly basis, I'm like, dang, I did not do enough this week. I really I spent too much time in meetings and not enough time giving context. Like I know
you're not making Claude plans while you're in the meeting.
No, usually if I'm in a meeting, I am like either speaking or very engaged or leading it. Yeah. So I don't have quite as much of that. I try to every now and then. But what I wanted to talk to you about vibe coding. Because I think vibe coding is really stupid, but it's actually also amazing. I think both things are true. I've actually been meaning to tell you the story. My head of HR vibe coded a training app that has actually replaced the training app that we had. And she even went as far to publish it to GitHub. She's got her own repo. Yeah. We moved it on the domain. It's part of our daily, every single one of our CSM trainings, because we do training almost every day. Every single one, it takes the transcript, creates the quiz, we review it, we send it out. It's got tracking, it's got ads. She has user roles in it.
Wow.
And she had never coded before. Never. It's one of my favorite vibe coding stories.
I definitely now see, everyone in my company now is using Claude for something. And I would say the things that they crank out more than anything else are skills. But then every now and then when they put those skills to work and create, an artifact of some sort, literally today, our head of marketing went through and updated all of our battle cards against our competitors for our sales team. But she did it by having it source all of the transcripts where we were actually head to head with that thing. And she's like, hey, Claude, go find all the deals we ever won against X. Tell me what was coming at us from the customer who was evaluating us against X, and help me build a battle card that speaks to what they were talking to us about, so that when we face X again, we are in good shape for it. That's what it means to start having this thing do work for you. And yeah, it burns a lot of tokens, but to go do that by hand, to listen to every call and all that kind of stuff is a tremendous amount of effort. And so, yeah.
But you had all the transcripts too.
That's true.
Because you have to actually have the data in a somewhat structured or somewhat, simple-ish way. Like it's got to be somewhat easy to get to. Like if you haven't had Gong on all of your calls, or you were sparsely doing recordings here and there on this Zoom account and this Gmeet account, and that data is super sporadic and hard to get at. Like you go so much faster when it's just all right there and you can just go grab it.
In our last episode, you talked about the power of having it interview you and having access to every transcript of every conversation you've had for the last 2 months in some ways is a fast forward on that. Because if you're talking about your work and why your product matters and why your customer cares and all those things to other people, then you don't need to give it context. You just need it to go read all that stuff. Right. So it's a fast forward on, hey, go get up to speed on this topic from everything that's come out of my mouth about this topic.
Have you seen any restaurateurs do anything like this? Have you seen them do any vibe coding like your employees have?
Yeah. So like I have people who come to my boot camp, and one of the things...
And are those mostly restaurant operators?
It's all like CMO, COO, CTO, CIO, CEO kind of stuff. Well, it's because I want to train the trainer. I don't have time to go train the whole organization at every single restaurant, but I can go train 30 executives and then see that propagate out, right?
So what do they build?
So Ha Lee over at PokeWorks, he did one where they went and they built an integration or an API, interaction where they would find, where's it going to rain tomorrow? It's a PokeWorks place. No one wants cold fish when it rains. So they would find where it was going to rain. Then they would go and use their data from Thanks to find the customers who shop at locations where it's going to rain. And then they would create offers to consumers where it's going to rain to give them a free bowl of miso soup tomorrow when it rains.
Nice.
And if they had done that, by hand, or they'd have to wait for us to build a product. That kind of thing.
So there are two tools, right? Basically maybe three tools that they did for this. One, they needed weather tool. Mm-hmm. So either like the weather MCP or weather skill so that they can get the weather data. Yep. Then they needed an API into your data, right? So they can get the actual customers. And then probably another one to actually get the emails sent out.
They did this one.
Email sending tool.
They did a thing. This one was via SMS. They have an SMS integration with Attentive, Klaviyo, one of those. And so those are the three things that they needed. And they stitched all that together, and they didn't go pay a software engineer to do it.
Oh, love that.
Another one is the CEO of Dreambox, Dan. He was in one of my boot camps, and the assignment after day one is sort of like an interview style prompt, followed by it makes a recommendation on how you can go solve a problem that you tell it about in the interview. And he went and built a little analysis tool to kind of like help him answer some questions about the business. But he has a co-founder who is the analyst. And so then he walks over to that person's desk and shows them what he did and how he did it. And that person had a deer in headlights, am I out of a job kind of moment.
Yeah, the red pill moment. Yeah. The red pill moment.
And instead he did what, this is kind of what the second class of my boot camp's all about, which is, what does it mean to be a thoughtful leader when you need to transform your entire workforce around this thing? When you have this moment where you walk up to an employee and you say, I have built something in 5 minutes that does a huge part of the middle of your job, which makes them ask the question of like, am I even relevant anymore? And you help them along that journey to say, I was never paying you to do that. I was always paying you to be a thoughtful, curious, business-minded, customer-focused person. And the middle of work was always the thing that distracted you from doing that full time. And so he said to that person, is like, no, I've barely scratched the surface of this opportunity. And now that guy is now full on, red pilled on, he works inside of Claude all day long, because why would you keep doing it the old way?
So in this case, we're doing, so we built basically maybe like an analysis skill, or maybe like a lightweight, front end app that connected into their data. So either their point of sale data, CRM data.
Yeah, in their case, they're an agency that helps restaurants. And so he built a tool that would help his team help more restaurants faster, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what the detail was of exactly the analysis he performed, but yeah.
Yeah, but anytime one of the things that I always like to do as I've been teaching people is just give them the exact words and the exact things, because then they can just enter it in Claude.
Yeah, right.
And then just ask about it. So he made a skill that basically wrapped around an API that was set into, SES or SendGrid or something, so they could send text messages. Because now you can just type that in and it'll actually tell you how to do it. And you'll spend most of your time trying to figure out where the fuck the API key is that you need to plug it in and how to set up your auth. And then almost none of the time actually building the code and actually using it. It's always tough for non-technical people, Aaron. The auth process is very hard for us.
Yeah.
And it usually ends up being
really
the most
depends on,
time-consuming.
some of them have really invested in making it easy, and like Google is the worst. If you want to talk to Google,
dude,
settle down and make yourself a snack, because it's going to take you an hour just to figure it out. It's really hard.
Yeah, once you get it, once you understand it, you can kind of, it's pretty easy to recycle and do it again. But it's such a huge product, right? It's fairly complicated to maneuver through.
Yeah.
But those are all oftentimes Google has some of the most powerful stuff. So getting access to it, a lot of times worth the work.
I would say, all right, so you and I both do a lot of coding with this thing, and maybe we've moved past the word vibe. And
I haven't. You have.
I had head start, and that I've been a software developer before. But I think then let's stay with you then. Like the way that you create the complex software that you create, because I've seen some of the stuff that you build, and it is genuinely impressive. It is genuine. Like I want you to send a copy of it so I can learn from it. Like I'm inspired by it. But I think that the key is understanding that you, by signing up for Claude and giving it access to a drive on your a folder on your hard drive and giving it a problem to solve, you have an idiot savant that can write. It can write software.
A lot of people have called me that. So this is well aligned.
So you have a thing that can write software for you. It can run the software for you. It can debug the software for you. But what it doesn't have is purpose. And you have to give it that. It doesn't have context, so it doesn't understand how to apply that purpose. And then the last thing is that unless you explicitly tell it to do so, it doesn't really go out of its way to follow software best practices. And the thing is that it, as a savant, it knows what those software best practices are. All you have to do is use those magic words. I want you to do this thing and use software best practices. And then if you download skills from Anthropic around software best practices, it gets even better.
3 lines that changed, my whole usage of Claude Code was basically like, always write unit tests. Yeah. Always write, playwright, regression tests, never, always deploy to staging before production. Like it was basically like a couple of those best practices. I didn't need to deeply understand why.
Yeah.
I just needed to know that. And some of them I learned from you. Some of my CTO I've learned a lot from. My co-founder is very technical. I've learned a lot from him. And so I hear these things, and I literally will go into Claude and be like, I heard this thing, from my CTO about testing. I don't quite understand it. And then I'll work to understand it. And then I can add those few lines to implement it. And you just keep doing that again and again and again. And then your skills, your Claude MDs, your system prompt, your special instructions, whatever you want to call it, they just get better and better. Yeah. And so do your results.
So when you talk about vibe coding, I think that this is the same thing that is always true of everything with AI. If you spend time up front making a good plan, and then you tell it to execute that plan,
planning mode,
you will get a better outcome. So I'm not even talking about planning mode yet. So if you sat down with Claude, whoever you are, dear listener, and you're like, I think I might want to actually solve a problem that I have by creating software. I too would like to have my own training mode. If you sat down with Claude and said, hey, I want to start doing some projects with you that are more sophisticated than I have the skills to manage. And you said, before I give you a job to do that requires us to start writing software, what are the industry best practices for creating software? Yeah. And it will tell you, well, maybe we should do some test-driven development, and we should write specs, and its savantism knows about all those concepts. So if you said, great, why don't you create skills for me that will leverage what you just told me we should do, even though I don't purely understand them. And now I'm going to tell you to go build something with those skills.
I think skills, and I said this to you actually. I think you and I had a call. They came out in early November, right, of last year, right? Like it's
ages ago, but yeah,
which is crazy because that's like 6 months ago. And it feels like I don't even know what I'd do without them. But skills were this thing that Anthropic came out as like early November. They came out like a day or two later. I was kind of playing around, and I was like, oh man, I think this is like the future. Like this just takes a giant shit on MCPs. So much more token efficient, much easier to customize. You don't need to understand how Docker works.
I got a good metaphor to explain to our listeners at home
what a skill is. What is a skill?
So in the Matrix, continue with our blue pill references. In the Matrix,
it's a good start. In the Matrix,
Trinity's on the rooftop and sees the helicopter, and she says, "APOC, I need to know how to fly that helicopter." And he reaches over and he grabs a disc that he puts into his computer and loads it into her, and then suddenly she knows how to fly that helicopter. That's a skill. There's the spine of what's written on the disk that says how to fly a helicopter. And your agent, as you're working, has this context window of what it can fit in memory. You can't put all knowledge of everything you could ever teach it into that memory space. But you can put what's written on the back of the disk of everything that you have ever taught it to do. So here's how to fly a helicopter, and here's how to do kung fu, and here's how to hack a computer. And your APOC is just sitting there ready to take the right disk and put it into memory to fly that helicopter in that moment.
And two reasons why they're so powerful. One, they're very token efficient, because when you start a session, the only thing your LLM knows is that that skill exists.
Yeah.
All it does is it knows the title and the little description, something called front matter. That's all it loads. But when it invokes the skill, either because it thinks it can do that to help it, or you just tell it, hey,
use my skill.
Read this skill. Now it brings in all of the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And so by having those kind of like, hot loaded or just ready to go makes them really token efficient. But the second reason that I thought skills were so incredibly powerful is how quickly they were to iterate on them.
Yes.
Iterating on an MCP was annoying as hell. I had to spin up and down containers that I barely understood how it worked. Like
that part has gotten easier, by the way. It was hard back then, but it's definitely easier now.
Well, again, for us normies, who only learned Docker 5 months ago, a little harder. And so the skills, like, they're just text files. You can read them. Like, you can literally
just
read your skill file and understand exactly what is in there and what you're telling your agents to do.
Yeah.
And so like that makes it so much easier to manage and to iterate on. You can literally just tell it, hey, we just worked and used this skill.
Yeah.
Like anything that we should do to improve it based off of this session. Did you make any mistakes? Was there bad syntax? Anything I can do to be better?
I have two more powers.
Just tell you.
Two more superpowers that come with skills. Number one is you don't write them. You don't go write a skill. You work with Claude to do something, and you're like, I want you to remember how to do this. Like, you and Claude together learn how to fly a helicopter, and then when you're done, you're like, hey, when I start a new Claude session, you're not going to remember any of this. So why don't you create a skill so that next time I need to fly a helicopter, you can instantly remember if it's relevant. And so that's the first one, is like, you can write it in English, but what you really do is you describe to Claude a skill you want to imbue it with, and then it writes it. And the second thing that is a superpower is that it can include code. So a skill can include, a bash script that knows how to actually execute something that is not using the LLM. And so those two things, along with the ones that you mentioned, make them the most accessible way to program a computer in English. You open up Claude, you describe what you want it to know how to do, you work with it until it does, it writes it down. And then when you use it, if it didn't quite get it right and you had to help it get across the line the second time, you say, update your skill to remember what we just did.
Yep. Most of my skills, not all of them, but most of them are kind of like, by tool. Like, I have a Salesforce skill.
Mm-hmm.
It can query Salesforce.
Exactly.
It can update Salesforce. It also has a bunch of reference files on how our different objects work together, what they mean, what the stages mean, different record types, things that matter, things that don't. So not only does it have the ability to work with Salesforce, it also has the knowledge on how to actually work with it to truly make it usable, for me. So we have a Salesforce skill, I have a Slack skill, I have I'm totally blanking now. I have an N8N skill, a Confluence skill, right? So each of these skills can kind of work with your tools, and that's how a great way to get started. And then you can get into knowledge skills, and you get into
process
some auto
skills.
commands. You can do crons that run them and get more complicated from there. But the skills were a huge unlock.
Our company now, there's a balance here. On the one hand, everybody's in GitHub, so their skills are available. But we have stopped shy of creating shared skills too often, because that can slow you down a little bit. If I'm making a change that's going to affect everybody else, then I need to go through a pull request and get peer review and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So instead, our position is, for most of our skills, the answer is steal liberally from each other. And so we do publish skills that we're like, hey, this is here for you to accomplish this goal. I have created it. Anyone can use it. And then from there, that's that core of shared skills that everyone can use, that is maintained and has pull requests, has inspired a flourishing of, everybody now has libraries of them. And when they have like their favorite one, they're like, hey, you guys should steal this from me kind of thing.
We need to do like in one of our other episodes, we need to do the AI OS. I like, cause that is like, you're just starting to get about how everyone gets to like build their AI OS and their own operating system for how they use it. But we'll save that. We'll save that one.
I think that's a good segue into the fact that you, Sterling, have built an AI brain that manages your day.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it's a brain.
Savant.
But yeah, an idiot savant.
Yeah.
That is like me and my AI are like in that way. Yeah. It started out with, I'm like a productivity hacker person, always have been. I've always loved trying to figure out the right to-do list and how to get the right reminder set, how to get things organized, how to get keyboard shortcuts to go as quick as possible. And I never found the application or the process that I really liked. I tried all sorts of them over the years. I like the getting things done framework a lot. And so what I ended up doing is I kind of like took one of the to-do apps that I liked and just told Claude, like, here's what I want. Here's some things I don't like about this. Here's some things that I like about this. Like, can we build this? And, interview me, go into planning mode. And it did. Mm-hmm. And then it built it. And then I was like, well, I have this idea of projects. So I want to do that. And then I'm like, well, I kind of want AI to be embedded in this, not just AI made a cool app, but the AI actually exists in the app. Kind of like the Charlie product. Like we have a bunch of AI like embedded in like how we design the websites, how we build emails and all this stuff. So I wanted to do something similar. And so I basically created a chat session for each task. So I add a task, I give some notes on it, and then what it'll do is it'll basically run a cron, and my agent will go look at the task, look at the notes, invoke the right skills. Hey, this is a Salesforce task. We need Salesforce to do this. This is that. And then it'll start asking me questions, or it will actually just go and do it. If it's just like follow up with Pete to see if financials are closed, it'll just send the Slack message, automatically since it's done that. And so it's really kind of like, not only was I able to create the app using AI, but then I was able to embed it in the task. So I truly have kind of like, the co-pilot every single task.
So every skill you create can become the handoff from a to-do list item to go take a crack at doing that thing. And when it gets close but not there, you go improve the skill. And pretty soon you have a to-do list app that just does work for you.
Yeah, so that's been the goal. It's hard. If you go on Twitter and stuff, you'll see like the mission control, and I did this, and the vibe Kanban stuff where agents are just talking to each other and doing all your tasks and improving the prompts and testing and all of that. And for the most part, I haven't met a single person who truly has that down. Mm-hmm. And so as I've been going through it, like I have a complexity label on it, small, medium, large. And if I declare something small, I'm pretty confident that I know my agent can go do it. Follow-ups, research, pulling data.
Sure.
And so it'll go off and do those. But the medium and large tasks, like I default, it has to go into planning mode with me. It's really not able to accomplish those tasks without planning mode, but it can start doing those smaller ones. And as we get better, we develop more plans, we improve the skills. Every single time we work with it, it will get better and better at doing those. And just a matter of time before it can start doing my medium tasks.
What I love about this project is, and this is what I mean by like, you downplay the fact that you're not really, you're a vibe coder and I'm not, or whatever. The reality is that the only limiting factor of this technology is our imagination. And so you have inspired me, because what you did was you took an application that helped you manage your to-do list and you turned it into an application that lets you manage its to-do list.
Yeah.
You're creating a to-do list for Claude, not for yourself. And that's
when you say it like that, it makes me sound much smarter. So let's go with your words. That was much better.
All right, I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Do you ever name your AI stuff?
Yeah, I give almost all of my agents not only a name, but a personality. And every single one of them is a personality off of a real person.
Oh, wow. Based on a human being
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
People that I either liked or didn't like working with, but I knew were really good.
Uh-huh.
So like I have an infrastructure agent. Mm-hmm. So anytime we're doing anything infrastructure related changes to any of my applications, I always say like call in the infra agent. And the infra agent is grumpy. He's generally got, a very dark sense of humor.
Without doxing the person that you base this on, do you call it the infra agent or do you call it that person's name?
No, I do call it infra.
Okay.
But dark sense of humor, really smart, very security, will argue with me, but only enough to make sure their point is made.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll just go on with what I do. And so anytime I will call in the infrastructure, like it's named after one. My planner agent is named after someone. My Ralph agent, I literally made him like Ralph Wiggum. So I get a lot of wheeze and stuff in there. It's fun. Like you're sitting there building stuff. I like getting those. Like every once in a while, they make me laugh. I am an open claw, supporter.
A whole episode in the future for us to discuss.
My open claw, like they have the soul.md, where you can kind of give it some of these personality traits. And I gave mine some. I gave mine a little attitude. Like I kind of like that. I think it just brings me a little bit of joy. And I do that. Do you give any of your agents any personality?
No, but I would say that they acquire a personality. Probably the best example is, so we have an internal product that is an analyst. It's not just, hey, I've given this thing access to a SQL database and I can say, read the schema and create a query for me. If you ask it a question, it will interview you a little bit and it will expand on your inquiry to ask smarter questions. And it will chase down tendrils of thought like, well, if this is true, I wonder if that is true. And so it actually goes well outside the boundaries of the simplistic thing you might have given it. And so you could go and ask it about, let's say, a campaign that a customer wrote. And eventually we'll bring this to the customer. So if you just said something like, hey, did my campaign work? Which is really abstract and, unspecific. It has the capacity to be like, well, there's a lot of different things that could mean. So I'm actually just going to go ask all of those questions and come back and say, it worked in this way, but not in that way. And so it's as if you have hired an analyst.
All right, but does it have a name and a personality?
So it's called Sherlock. Sherlock has investigations. The plugin library that you install into Claude in order to talk to it is called Baker Street. It has a red hat, which is when you tell Sherlock to go and do analysis, Sherlock sometimes makes assumptions. And so we created an agent that just looks at Sherlock's work and says, I can't say that's true because you made an assumption, or it's a low end, so you're making conclusions based on little data. And that thing's called Moriarty. And then Bailey on my data team, she just last week, she created Mrs. Hudson, whose job is to take things that Sherlock learns how to do and converts the kind of ambitious but a little messy output of Sherlock, which is, it meanders a lot. It tries to find interesting things. Mrs. Hudson goes and finds the best of what Sherlock discovered and can turn it into a report in our dashboard. So you can now go into Claude and type, Sherlock, how did my campaign do? It will do 5 or 6 different inquiries. Moriarty will say 2 of these are garbage, so don't use them. The 3 that remain are really interesting, and Mrs. Hudson can take those things and turn them into a report that our customer can see. All of this is headed into the product so that the customer can use it. But it does. I don't know if we'll keep the name. And so you asked about personality. So yes, there's a theme with, Sherlock and Moriarty and Baker Street and Mrs. Hudson. But the result of having given it those names is an affection has developed of all the people using it, like I love Sherlock kind of stuff. Yeah. But I don't treat my AI as a he or a she. Even Claude isn't it to me. I do call my personal project AI Ron, just because it's not another person. It's me. It's an extension of me, of my will. But it has no
an avatar.
It has no personality. It has no avatar.
Well, yeah, but it is exactly like you in that way. It has no personality.
Sorry, that took me a second for me to understand what you were actually saying. Like, wait, that doesn't make. Oh, I get it.
You've been so nice and complimentary of me in this episode. So, I obviously given it back.
Yeah. So I don't, I would say that part of this comes from my wife, who in the early days of AI, I would say things like, well, let me ask my buddy. And she would she found that like, it would make her kind of shiver. Like, it's not a human being. I don't like the idea that you would eventually develop a relationship with it as a human being. And I was like, you know what? I annoy you enough with talking about this technology. I'll give you that one. And so I don't personify it in any way.
the RevOps agent that we have that like helps our sales reps with stuff that's in the Slack channel. It definitely has some personality.
Is that OpenClaw powering that so they can just go talk to it via Slack?
Not quite, but very similar. Where OpenClaw, to why you don't like it, does have some security stuff. So we are a little bit careful about anything that we're deploying for the company, but it roasts the sales reps. And they love it. They like roast it right back. But it literally it can get pretty aggressive sometimes. But the channel is so funny. I really, the joy that I think it brings, I think is one of the underrated parts about being able to deploy AI in either companies or in your product, is that it can create some joy.
Yeah,
and I really like that part of it.
I think my funnest moment, my most hilarious interaction with AI ever. I have a rule in my Claude MD file that is that says the later the hour that I'm working, the more snark I want it to give to me. I want more attitude. And
all right, so give me an example. 2 a.m.
The best one that I ever did. I don't even remember what I was doing, but I was trying to make something happen. And I was unaware that I had a setting in the platform I was talking to that prevented it from working. I don't remember what this was. So I'm bashing my head against it with Claude. I'm like, make it work. And it's like, I'm doing it, man. And I'm like looking at in my browser and I'm like, well, it ain't working. And we really went round and round with this thing a lot. And I'm like getting mad at it. I'm just like, why is this so hard for you? And I'm tired. It's late, but I am like getting kind of mad at it, which you can feel when you go in circles with AI. And then eventually I happen to go click on a settings tab and I realized that I disabled the thing that I was trying to do. I don't remember what it was. So I took a screenshot of the fact that I had it disabled. And I just sent the screenshot to Claude with no commentary whatsoever, just the screenshot.
No context.
And its response was, oh, period, my, period, God, period. And it was just like, that was exactly the kind of partnership that I wanted from it in that moment. That's the closest thing I have to it having, genuine personality or whatever.
It's just a little bit of snark. Well, with a little bit of snark, we need to wrap this episode up.
All right.
Awesome episode. Really happy. I think we went into some really good examples on something that restaurants are using, vibe coding, the value of skills, both basic and advanced. And if we give your AI agents any personality or names,
it could be fun. Yeah.
So reminder to everybody, subscribe to the podcast so you can get notified. Aaron and I are trying to pump these out every single week. Like it if you like it. And if you don't and we get no likes, we'll just shut it down after 10 episodes. But hopefully you're gaining some good stuff. But with that, we'll be signing off.
Yeah. And my last little bit, if we said anything today that was confusing as hell, ask Claude.
Ask Claude.
Yeah.
See ya.
All right.